I've taught Japanese to over 100 people who actually use Japanese for work, and I quickly noticed that most of you tend to have a hard time feeling the connection with Japanese people. So a lot of you come to me saying that, you guys know these coworkers for like 10, 20 years, these Japanese coworkers, and you know their faces, you say hi and bye, but you don't really know, their personalities. You don't really know the person, right? And you guys are learning the language, but you're not able to actually feel the connection there. The good news is, guys, there's actually a reason why Japanese people are not engaging with you yet. And that's why in this video, I kind of want to break down those reasons and how you can actually make them trust you more, like never before, right? And by the way, if you guys don't know me, my name is Narron, and I'm an interpreter here in Japan and on YouTube. Because I was born and raised here, I teach people like you who work with Japanese people go from nervous to natural. But so let's talk about the main reason. So the major reason why, you think there's a big wall between you and the Japanese, you and Japanese people is because, like I said, they still don't trust you. Now, why is that? Let's break this down. Okay, so in my opinion, my experience, in Western culture, it's very normal. I worked in California for a while too because my father's American and my mother's Japanese. I was born here, but actually after college, I worked in California. And in the West, it's very normal to kind of be from a different location in the world. Now, what do I mean? You could be, for example, born in the US, but be like Asian, white, or like Hispanic or whatever you are, right? But in Japan, the thing is most people, for the past like 2,000 years, their family is like literally from Japan or like East Asia, if you know what I mean. So, and therefore, it's still kind of unusual to see someone that doesn't look Japanese, if you know what I mean, right? So even I'd be surprised if I saw a foreigner around here, right? We're in the Nagoya area, and like growing up in Kyushu, I was always kind of the only half American guy in the whole state. You know what I mean, right? I'm from Miyazaki, Japan, and it's very rare to see like a white person, down the street, right? We were like the only family in town. It was like, who had a American dad and a Japanese mom, right? So when you think about this is the funny part. When you think about the humans, human psychology or brains, right? What does our brain do when we're not actually used to seeing something new, right? We don't touch it. That's what we do. It's just simple biology. Like that's why whenever I go on a train, people tend to avoid me. But lucky me because I get all the space I want, right? That's kind of how I tend to look at it. But anyways, lack of trust is the main reason why, you don't really feel welcomed yet. And that's fine for now because we're going to fix that right now, right? So I'm going to give you 3 things that you can do right now so that you can actually instantly, start improving your relationship with Japanese people. Okay, so I got 3 solutions. The first thing you can do is language, learning the language. If there's a lack of trust, let's think about how we can actually make that our advantage and make them trust us, okay? Again, the language, right? Why? Japanese people expect other Japanese people to speak Japanese to them, right? But like they don't actually expect you to speak Japanese. So, because you don't look Japanese, right? So what if you spoke a little bit of Japanese? They're going to be like, oh, sweet. This guy or this gal speaks our language. He or she's probably not a threat after all, right? That's kind of how our brains work. So you're in a very advantageous position right now because no one thinks you speak Japanese around here. So speak it and surprise people, right? I've seen so many people start speaking Japanese and local people actually open up like crazy. It almost feels like, the moment you speak Japanese, the moment you speak the language, people around you start acting like they've known you for like the past 20 years. So guys, it's crazy. Remember, always look at this, the fact that you're not Japanese, that you don't look Japanese. Look at this, think of it as an advantage. Okay, that's kind of my first message. My second solution that I have is understand the culture. And I don't mean this in a normal, like a lot of other people talk about this too. I want to go deeper in this video. Okay, so what's another way to actually, let's think about it for a second. What's another way, right, to make a certain group of people want to accept you? Remember, you're coming from a different country and you're entering, different land, right? Different country. So how do we make another group of people actually want to accept you, right? At first, their brain's going, oh, this other person's a threat. They're not part of our, culture, right? And, for them to start talking to you, what's necessary, right? It's being on the same page, when it comes to something. So basically, you want to share, you want to share some kind of, similar values with people. Now, I'm not saying become totally Japanese from like day one or from today, right? I'm saying that just understanding those values, a few Japanese things when you arrive here makes a huge difference. So it could be something like, when you meet someone, do you give a firm handshake and then scare them? Or do you just give them a shallow, like a polite bow and make them feel like, oh, this person actually understands us, right? The key here is to make them feel like you're not a threat. Because again, when you're trying to enter a certain group, you need to be even more trustworthy than you are back in your country, right? When a lion from village A tries to join village B, the lions in village B, the new one, should suspect this new member because their life is on the line, right? This is how it's the same with humans too, right? This is kind of what I want to talk about. Understand the culture. Don't scare people. That's kind of my main message in this culture part, all right? So now I want to talk about the third thing, right? Now we understand the culture, like how it's important, and why sharing similar values is so important. But what are some real actions that we can take? This is one important thing that I talk a lot with my clients. They're like, yeah, you tell me to do, you tell me that this is important, Sean. You tell me ABC is important. What can I actually do, right? And I'm going to tell you, what I tell my students. Okay, so I'm going to give you the most powerful strategy that I know of. It's so simple. It's just telling them who you are. And I don't mean say your name, say your hobbies. I'm saying tell them literally everything about you. Japanese people tend to feel comfortable when they know your past. You worked here, you lived there, you just got married with a person from, wherever this person is, right? At least in my experience, in the West, it seems like we often focus on who we are today, like about the future too, right? Not about the past. In Japan, you have to tell people about your past in order for them to trust you. This is just culture. I don't have an answer why this is, okay? So yes, talking about your family is totally fine. Talking about your past is pretty normal in Japan. You know what happened, when I just started my current job? It was actually 3 years ago that I joined my current company as a translator, right? At first, it felt like no one really wanted to talk to me. It just felt like everything's fake, artificial, the HR people who came in and gave me my new ID card. It just felt like no one really wanted to talk to me. But until all of a sudden when Oji-chan just approached me in front of everybody in the room and he said, well, kid, you look really young. How old are you? And I just told him my age, and also told him that I wasn't from the area. I also told him I just followed my wife here, right? And then all of a sudden, he just opens up and he goes, well, kid, I also read your resume, and it said that you lived in the U.S. for a while. Is that true? And I'm like, yeah. Well, so you read my resume? And he goes, well, yeah, I also studied in New Mexico 30 years ago. I was like, I met some really beautiful girls there, man. And then everyone in the room just started laughing. So kind of the moral of the story, my point of the story is the more you tell your background, the more you talk about your background with your coworkers, the more they're going to the more they like you, right? They tend to like you that way, or maybe not like you, but trust you more at least. So do it. Talk about your family. Ask them about their family. Make a connection there, and that's, in my opinion, that's exactly how you should be building your relationships in Japan, especially if you haven't done this yet, right? And by watching this video, I really hope those are my 3 tips, okay? Culture, language, and then actually talking about yourself more. So don't worry about the language too much. You can learn a few words and just start using them. Compared to other countries, in my experience, I think that Japanese people will actually stop and take the time to talk to you. Even if you make a mistake, that's fine. They're very generous in general. So I always tell my students to not be afraid to start talking to people. And I'll tell you one secret. My top performing students tend to be more accepting. What's the word for it? They tend to be okay with making a mistake. So, by making mistakes, other people may laugh, but that's a harmless laugh. They're going to be like, no, you say it like this, not like this. And there's a connection there, right? So doing something is better than doing nothing. That's really what I think. And I really hope that by watching this video, you're able to actually, at least implement one thing. In this video, I talked about 3 things. Please try one of these. You don't need to do all. Do one thing and come back, comment something if something worked. If you actually were able to make a connection with someone, comment below. Just come back to this video. And I really want to make this an opportunity to kind of boost your confidence through this video. All right. So anyways, guys, that was Sean reporting from the Nagoya region, and I'll talk to you in our next one. Bye-bye.